Good afternoon, everybody. It's RT here with Hxro Labs. Nick Cote is joining me today because it's Friday, and that means we get to both come on, which is excellent and exciting. So thank you guys for
Always
coming out.
exciting.
Looks like we've got a few here watching live, which is great. And I've got audio, which is double great. And we're ticking on all cylinders. So today we're going to be getting into crypto, obviously, mostly crypto. Dive into some shitcoins near the end and get some alt charts up there because things are running hot. ETH is on a rampage and clear skies ahead, it looks like. So we're just going to hope that it can hold up over the weekend, get a nice weekly close. So we'll get into all that stuff a little later. But first, we're going to kick off with Nick sharing his newsletter. If you hadn't known already, he does write the weekly, which is a newsletter we've got going out of Hxro every week for free. Really solid stuff. He's been talking about DeFi for months now, and gold and silver. So some really hot items in there.
All the
And
trendy stuff.
all the
All the
trendy
stuff you
stuff.
need to
I
be
mean,
aware of on the big time frames.
yeah, I think I'll stop right there and let you speak to it. It's your baby, and today is your chance to share it with the world.
Yeah, so the weekly, the idea is to share more of a macro scope of things with people, not just for crypto as well. Because we've seen a lot of confluence between the markets lately. There's possible that we're going to see that detached. S&P legacy markets here, stocks particular, look a lot weaker than what we're seeing in crypto, right? Take a look at ETC. It's pulling up. So are we going to see a decoupling this weekend? I think that's what we're looking for, right? So we're keeping a close eye on that. But going into close here, 56 minutes left on the week. Doesn't look great. We need to hold this daily range at 3,200, or this is going to be the first break in market structure that we've seen in months, probably since March. There's a lot of things going through Congress right now around the rent subsidy extensions. If that doesn't go through, there could be a huge wave of evictions. Probably see a big impact on consumer spending. So we're keeping a close eye on that. So many good narratives here. We've been following the gold and the silver. It's moving up hard today, over 1,900, kind of just flagging out. I think we're about $38 off all-time highs. Obviously, every other pair on gold, CAD, ODD, etc. Still continuing to run well past the highs. Are over 30% right now. So we could be looking at $2,000, $2,400 gold if it follows similar routes to what we saw versus the weaker pairs. But the big chart of the day probably has to be the US dollar. This thing has just been sliding down, and looks like we're pretty close to making some multi-year lows here as the dollar unwinds. So, against this could be good. This could be good for Bitcoin. Are we witnessing a softening of the dollar long term here? When you break these lows, this could definitely come back down here to 11.6 level, probably. Back in 2015 lows. But yeah, all that great for Bitcoin. If we do decouple from the stock markets, we could go on a real run here if the majors are able to clear this 280 level. Here on Ethereum right now, as you can see, broken the downtrend line. Check box on the confluence checklist here on the horizontal 253. If price does come back from this level around 288, 290, we would be looking for this area to hold here. So, simple Wyckoff theory, we talk about it a lot here. This was a resistance for about a month here, consolidating on lower highs, broke through it. So if we see something like this, drawing tool out. It's always good to have this. So we see something like this, peter off range, boom, like this, chop around there. You'd want to be buying this type of confirmation here, and you'd be looking for the upper targets up here and stuff, taking out these highs through here. Oh, it's not pretty, but that's what you'd see from a market structure point of view. So we'll be keeping a close eye on that. Bitcoin just getting dragged, not really doing much on its own. B-vol continuing to fall here. Ethereum definitely looking a lot more bullish than Bitcoin. Bitcoin still has yet to reclaim these highs here around 97, 98. Till it does this, we're still stuck in this consolidating range. There's not really much reason to be looking at Bitcoin here with the alts firing off, Ethereum setting up a bullish market structure on itself now. And all of this, like I said, covered here in the weekly, arriving at your doorstep every Monday. Do a lot of chart analysis. Just kind of focusing on the higher time frames here. But with this knowledge, you can break that down to the lower time frame stuff. We get into the minor market update. It's kind of giving you a glance of what the companies are doing. Is there distribution, supply chain problems? It's all important information. Data center, generally every week, I'm going to be breaking down a couple sets of data or reports that I find interesting. Sometimes they're related to crypto, sometimes not. Probably the most valuable one right now, the DeFi checkup. So again, just monitoring the trends in the space, what's working, what's not. And that arrives at your doorstep every Monday. And
straight to the inbox.
Overview on legacy. Yeah.
Yeah, and I gotta say you're being pretty humble. I mean, you've been all over this DeFi thing for months, and I think I only started working with you guys for the last few months, but so I missed the initial nudge from your research to start really looking at DeFi and taking it a little more seriously. So, I've got, I was in the Kyber Network ICO, but asked me if I held through the bear market. I did not. Now suddenly it's DeFi.
Even with the growth we've seen here, this is wave one growth, right? I saw some data today that said, if you say users have 2 addresses on average, we're still only sitting around 130,000 users actively in these markets, right? So, 7 billion people on Earth. Do the math, right? It's still very small.
It's ridiculous to think of it as done or too late.
No, it's definitely not.
But you look at those charts. I mean, let's pull up a chart. Fire me off a DeFi name. Let's get a DeFi name. Let's say I know Aave is one that I don't know what it is, but I saw the chart and it looks sexy. We had the pump chaser on here actually just as Lend, yeah. So just as an example, right? So moving up, you get that big breakout, draw up that fib, and it gave you this beautiful pocket to get long on as far as trying to chase these trends. And here's the sick thing. I can already see it. Watch this. It just works again and again. I mean, you want to know how these trends fit. It's not perfect every time, but watch this. Maybe you missed that first one. You're like, oh, you get this nice little pocket. Let's see if it keeps going. I mean, I'm going to talk about fibs every single day for the rest of my life.
Consistent volume.
Right here. Missed the first move? There's your nice pocket. Okay, well, I didn't even get on that because I was sleeping. So let's go to the next pivot. Up here, there's your next pocket. I mean, this thing really is the pump chaser. So, obviously the higher the risk, I wouldn't even call this much of a stop. So, okay, let's go to today. Here we are in the pocket. If it's going to continue, this is drawing us up a nice, safer way to get in on it. And I think you're right on the grand scheme of things. We're nothing in the in the world of finance. Yeah. But the question is, is this going to ever crap out for a little bit and then go big? So always tricky to buy a chart when you see this zoomed out, right?
Yeah.
It does make it harder. I think there is something to be said for parking. Maybe, okay, so I'm trading, I'm making profits, I'm moving along, the market's being nice to me. Maybe I'm scooping out 5 or 10% of whatever I'm making weekly and I'm throwing it into a DeFi index. Because I know, over 5 years, I want to be long on DeFi and I don't want to worry about all this stuff. So I'm just sliding a little bit over into an index like that. That's actually something I was thinking about today while I was getting ready for my day. I was like, I should start a little skim from my trade account to park it into some of these things because, frankly, I think you're right. I think in 5 years I might go, well, why didn't I do that?
Yeah, there's just so much innovation happening in this space right now. There's so many big networks with layer 2 applications already being built on them. Bitcoin, there's not much building going on top of Bitcoin right now, compare relative to what we're seeing in, across other networks and stuff. But the other networks stand on top of Bitcoin. They didn't have all this infrastructure and access to to liquidity and stuff. So a completely different landscape. That's why I think we're going to see it's going to be a lot easier, and we're going to see a lot more of these charts over the years because the infrastructure and work already put in for new companies coming in. It's just that's something they don't have to think about. Capital, like the biggest thing, capital is right there. There's active investors in this space. So, capital is really important if you're looking to bootstrap growth really quickly. That's what's available. Bitcoin just unfortunately didn't have that. Hasn't had that layer two development. Yeah, Lightning's interesting and everything, but there's so many more applications being built elsewhere right now.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Now we've got Crypto Simple Life asking in the chat, where can he get his hands on this weekly newsletter? So my understanding is right now we've got a new labs page in development where we're going to have signups and all, basically all the labs content in one place. Right now it's sort of living on a tab on hxro.io. So when that's live, we're going to be firing it off in the Telegram, on Twitter, and all that. So as of right now, this exact moment, I don't know that you can click our last link for signing up to the weekly. So Crypto
we'll have it tweeted out on our social
Simple
media
Crypto Life. Hit
platforms
us up
and
in
published.
Telegram. The Telegram channel is free. It's in the description here. It's been pretty hot lately too. I got to say, I'm not one to sort of go to a Telegram, read a chat, and mark it by whatever's talked about. So it's not my style. But man, there's some really good ideas flying around in there. I think this week the crowd sort of consensus in there was Ambrosis. We saw it had a really impressive week. Myth. Let's pull it up while I'm talking about it. But Myth had a really good week. There was a lot of chatter in there this week, a lot of GIFs and memes flying around about this one. It had a really nice week. And I mean, like these guys weren't talking about it here. There was a lot of buzz last week, and I was trying to find ways to fit it into my setup. And Ambrosis, which actually looks like it needs to cool down for a little bit. You can see I've been playing around with this chart for a while. Sitting right in the pump chaser zone. So I mean, hey, there is something to be said for like getting long off this level versus, having chased it last week or the other day. Actually, it's only 2 days now. You can tell I'm in a position when I think this has been a week. It's been friggin' 2 days. I'm like, I've been watching this chart forever.
We caught the breakout on it. I think we were talking yesterday that, we're looking at former resistance around 200, 210. If I were to see price come back there and support, I think that would be a good base to build.
Yeah, I want it to come a bit back to fill me up again as a trader, as an investor, and as, some other guys I know that are in it. I'm like, hey, go for it if you guys want to see it moon. Let it moon. Now, another one this week, Dusk, was like the new toy for the last 2 days in the Telegram. So I'm just really impressed with those guys in there. And it's not like a team of people running it that are, this is just community members, people that come in. It's really nice to have this turning into a big Telegram shill. But really, like, I love just the activity in there, having guys come in and say, oh, I just heard about this. This is sweet. What do you guys think of this shitcoin trading over on Uniswap? Let's check it out. And then there's like 20 guys that are like, oh, yeah. And then we're sharing research. So it's a pretty sweet place. So if you're not already in there, check the description. It's free. It's just, there's some analysts hanging out. There's some guys on Twitter hanging out in there, and then just a whole lot of new people coming in each day, sharing alpha. So
it's pretty important to build a community at this point. There's so much going on. It's impossible to track everything as one person. Better to have a team.
Yeah, I popped in last night. I mentioned DexT, some little, shitcoin I found over on Uniswap. A buddy of mine mentioned, checked it out, talked to some guys. Some other guys posted research on it. Another guy's like, oh yeah, I just bought some today. And like, it's up, whatever, 80% today. So pretty exciting stuff going on in there, and I'm impressed because I often, I'm like, you hear people talk about this coin's going to pump all the time. And I'm a little skeptical of that. Like I've learned in the past, I try not to just chase different ideas. But I got to say, like Mithril, CTSI, Dusk, a lot of these names have been flowing through here in the last few days. And, I don't see my setup, so I just move on, do my own thing. And like I look back the next day, I'm like, oh, shit, that thing actually popped, whatever. So,
yeah, I think that's the difference in trading styles, right? There's trading a set of rules and setups, and then there's just, a momentum trade or something.
Yeah. And again, like if you're, okay, I work full time, I've got a family, all this, I just go to a place And this is actually what I used to do in 2017. I was still working full time early in the spring, and I would show up and I found it was like the Stratus altcoin channel on Slack, and I would
Oh
go
boy.
in there, right? And I just got to know that's because that was like the moon baby back then, right? I think it was like
Yeah.
600x from its ICO that was in 2016. So I was in the altcoin channel in their Slack, LOL Slack, still a thing back then, and so there was a handful of personalities in there that I just learned to respect. And, when they said, this is a coin I'm looking at, so I think that was a big part of my edge early on in crypto was getting into a consistent community to weed out the noise. Because everywhere you go, someone's got a coin that they are hype on, and that's
They
cool.
got a bag.
Power to you. But getting into a place where you can kind of weed out the random commentary from like maybe somebody who knows something and over time. So there was like a guy in there, for example, he's like a Russian guy, he's a developer, and he shielded me on the Neblio ICO, NEBL. And I was kind of like, oh, the team page was like just a husband and wife. Like it was really awkward. It was a really low key looking ICO. But I ended up grabbing it because he said to, put in a couple $100 and the thing like 50x. I was just like, okay. And I wouldn't have heard of that, had it not been in there. So that channel's long gone, but we are trying to capture as much alpha as we can in the trading pit. And I got to say, I'm super impressed in the early couple of weeks as it continues to grow. So show complete. Hit it up. Come on in there. I'm hanging out in there all the time as well. So try to help out with things I can. Put down my tastiest, spiciest gifts. Now let's take a look at ETH BTC because this is just something I've been waiting for. You and I have been waiting for this for a long time.
Yeah.
This thing, big bottom coming in, consolidation, and I'll get a little zoom on it right here. Nice big consolidation. We've been charting this on the 4-hour through June and I guess May. Wow, this was April. So really through May and then up through June, we had this going on the 4-hour, and then it's just like 56 days. Break out of the pennant, don't go anywhere. Hit this resistance line, don't fail, don't break through. I mean, it was just chilling, and it was kind of nice to see alts perform while ETH BTC sat still. But I kept thinking to myself, man, if this thing breaks out, the real party will begin. So I'm
True season.
Yeah, true season. I'm really pumped to see this thing come up, get a nice bullish retest. Not in a rush to go anywhere. I mean, it's a giant. It's a slow mover, and now it's just broken up. It's starting to move. We hit resistance on the initial breakup, and I thought, okay, maybe we'll have to chill here now for a little bit. And look at this thing, just closed above again, closed above.
With the period of consolidation being as long as it was, the market just coils. So you get a lot of release on that, and it forms these long-lasting trends. And that's why these trades are so great because they are long-lasting.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, exactly. Zooming back out, this is an idea we put out on TradingView yesterday. And I mean, looking at the Gann 50/50, I had to draw this up here. You can zoom in. I had to actually draw that off the candle body highs because, price got a little ridiculous and I wanted something that had a little more weight to it, maybe a little less bullish of a target, but based a little, I've heard debates on who likes wicks and who likes candle body highs. I think there's a time for both, so you'll see me use both interchangeably. But in this case, I landed on candle body highs because it's a 3-day chart, nice big heavy close there. And half the time, so this downtrend took 272 bars, so that's about 800 and something days because those are 3-day bars. And half of that puts us on the date of around October 15th. Again, 3-day bars, so let's give that a couple days on each side. And then you get this distance. That's again 50/50. I don't think that's that crazy. I mean, it looks crazy, but we've talked about it on the show before. It looked crazy on Atom, right?
Cosmos.
Atom was boring as hell. Nobody was talking about it. It was just a quiet, downtrending through March and April and May, and other coins were waking up, and it was boring. Well, it broke through the trend line. I drew the 50/50 on it because that's what I like to do for targets on time basis. And look at this thing. I mean, it front ran it a little bit. And, sitting here, especially on the sweep of these lows that day, I think that was a Saturday. That's when those alts, I remember because I was up north trying to relax and I was driving up there and I got out of my car and I had like 15 price alerts all down. I think that was the day Bitcoin made a little move. So, right here, you're not thinking about this level. And sure enough, bing, 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 bing. It was like 15 green days in a row. So no, don't count out the Gann 50/50. This is not really me saying this a prediction, but I certainly am not counting it out, not, taking my eyes off of these kinds of targets, because we're in a long right now. Just, full disclosure, we're in a long on ETH, and I'm looking at, 280 and 288 and 290, 316, certain levels I see on the USD chart, and I'm thinking, should I close? Should I close? It's important to take profit. We'll be doing some of that, but the big picture has not evaded me.
Gotta have iron hands if you want to make real money.
Yeah, there's so much that goes into trading and investing and playing this kind of a market when it's hot. It's not a one size fits all. In fact, quick comment on that. Something that used to bother me a lot when I first got into trading, or I guess at the point I should say trying to trade, because I don't think I should qualify myself then as a trader, because I didn't really know what I was doing, but I wanted to learn. And so you hear about things like setups, and you run into a trader and they say, hey, and you're just like, tell me your setup. Let me use that thing that you do, and I want to make money with it. Please, like, I'll pay you, whatever. Just help me do that. And they always would respond to me the same way and say, I can't, but you'll have to read this book and you can learn. And I couldn't figure it out, but I've kind of grasped it now. It's so personal. Trading, there's 1,000 ways to do this thing, millions of ways, and it's really hard to just take a setup and apply it to everyone. You need a time frame that fits for you. You need a risk tolerance that fits for you. You need it to be based in a way that you can trade it with your lifestyle, whether that's working full time and you having kids and a family, or if you're sitting down there staring at it all day, right? So, even going through the learning process that I went through, there's so many tools and there's so many things.
My experience, a lot of people are going to start off on the more short-term stuff, especially when they're learning. They just want to maximize their screen time. And then as you develop, you kind of realize, maybe that's not the best use of my time or capital. And then, kind of go towards swing trading or taking a shot at trend trading. But again, we said that before, trend trading, you're only going to get a few trades a year. So if you're in front of the screens all day and calling yourself a trend trader, you should probably be rethinking or brush up on your knowledge of what your actual strategies are here.
Yeah, and I've changed and evolved myself. I mean, I told you the other day we were just talking about, I was trading a lot of these perps on Binance, these futures, right? And that's something that I didn't do before. I was really keen on midterm swings, right? So I'd be like, okay, I'm going to park some capital in Atom because I think the bottom just came in, and I'm just going to chill. I'm going to set my target here, and then I'm going to go do other things for 2 months. But then I became a lot more full-time in this. Obviously, it's summer and quarantine, Corona, right? I was like, I don't want to sit in this position for 2 months if, I've got some alpha coming down the pipeline and I can hear, news on such and such just partnered with so-and-so. And I know that's going to pop right now. I want to stay liquid and I want to be ready and I'll be kind of light on my feet and doing a little more lower time frame trading. So I've evolved many times over. And I think in many ways I'm still searching for my maximum, optimal kind of style. But if you're kind of new to this stuff and it seems overwhelming, just remember, the best plan, I think, is to set your sights on the long term. I plan to be doing this in 20 years. I plan to be doing this in 30 years. Small, slow, compounding over time.
Building the toolkit, the quiver.
And evolving, right? Not getting stuck in the lane that you're in and certainly not chasing, guys. I heard somebody... Yeah, I read some cringy thread earlier today about somebody that was upset because they lost money on, some kind of futures with the high leverage, and they were just like, well, somebody's like, maybe you get off the leverage. Like, how do you expect me to win it back without... I'm like, bro, you don't win back. That is not the mindset ever. It's gone. New day, new trade. Let's go. Stay focused forward, and you're gonna have to eat a loss. You're gonna have to eat a lot of losses in trading. Great traders can eat 45% of their trades are just losers.
Well, more importantly, they set themselves up so that they can survive those losses because they know over the long term, their strategy makes money. Positive expectation.
Yeah, and
Oh,
I've had my ruts. I've had my ruts, especially through the bear market where charts were just really hard to read, and I was not getting the gains that I wanted, and you just got to stick to it. And I've made back most of not most of, like, I wouldn't say I'm near my 2017 highs, but most of the chop that I got stuck in last year is a thing of the past. You just got to stay focused. So, with that said, let's look into some shitcoins. We got a few requests. And I say shitcoins, I just mean altcoins. I just like to swear when I can because it's fun.
shit coins.
Shitcoin.
A Bitcoin dominance chart, that's an important one to
Okay,
take a look at.
yeah, let's start here. This thing is in the risk on window. We've had one leg down. We were still stuck in this sort of uptrend. We broke down from that, confirmed new bearish market structure. This is when it really took off, sort of into the beginning of July, which is great news because I was a little worried Q3 might be ugly because sometimes it just is. Excuse me, Q2? No, Q3, yeah. And July's been really nice, and we started to consolidate again here. Again, always watching to see, do we break up? Alts wrecked for a bit. Nope. We've just broken down again with the breakout of the ETH BTC chart. I mean, this is the big mover against Bitcoin. So you're often going to see like an inverse, obviously, move here. And I'm actually surprised this hasn't broken down a little more as ETH BTC continues. But I think some of the other alts are
I don't
struggling.
think I don't think Ethereum and the other majors have really started ripping as hard as they could here.
No,
Like we're
I don't
on
think they
we're
have
on
either.
day one, you know,
Yeah.
of day one of this breakout essentially.
Yeah, think about it, right? Like 56 days consolidating here. And
Yeah,
what is
and
this? Day 2.5,
yeah,
almost
look
3.
at your Bitcoin dominance chart. Like you had what 56 consolidation period there on that. Look at that support it broke down from, and then look
Yeah.
how that look that's my entire point of my trade strategy. The longer the consolidation, the harder the break, and the higher the probability of continuation for an extended period of time. And
Yep.
that's the conditions that we could be setting up again if that
Yeah.
low breaks. Like look at the
Well, and this
extension.
low is, I guess, really, this is the low we should be looking at here.
Yes, exactly that low. Yeah.
So, and I don't have that on my chart, but we can add it. And I'd say right now it's going to act as support. So yeah, if this low
Yeah.
breaks, that's your face rip, right?
Yeah, you're
That's
looking like you're looking the bottom of that range. Yeah, right down there. Yeah.
so you tell me. Let's just throw. I'm going to throw a dart at you right now. What is the probability that this chart sees upside in the next 3 weeks?
High. Unless
Let's give it a
there's
number.
some black swan event in the world
Yeah.
that takes everything down. Like the way the markets usually work, it's a good trader of mine or a friend of mine, he would always say, short the body count. No, short the disaster, long the body count. And that's kind of what we've seen again with this coronavirus stuff, right? People were uncertain, and then finally, started getting a handle on it. Markets recover. Companies, the ones that are hurt are gone. The ones that are, doing really well.
The purge.
Yeah, essentially that's what it is giant purge consolidation of so many sectors.
Yeah. And I think you mentioned a good thing about, well, yeah, high probability unless, and you have to leave, in my opinion, you have to leave that unless in there. And I
You have
actually,
to. We just had one of those events a few months ago.
yeah, let's not forget, that monster dump. Actually, this was it here. This is the BTC US 30 chart that I wanted to talk about today. But, keeping in mind that in trading, it's really important to think in terms of possibilities and probabilities. And I read a really good book on this. Hopefully I can remember the title off the top of my head. It was basically Super Forecasters: The Art and Science of Prediction. Really cool book, not directly related to trading, but obviously very applicable. And he talks about the idea, it really dives into what probability is and the fact that the weather, meteorologists is a big place you see weather and probabilities and 45% chance of rain, like 90% chance of rain. And it's easy to look at that and be like, man, they said 85% chance of rain and it's sunny out. They're wrong. It's like, no, they're not. They said there was a 15% chance that it would be sunny today or whatever, right? 85% chance of rain, you can't be wrong on that because you're not saying it will rain. You're saying it probably will. And if it doesn't, you're right. You kind of covered it. Well, I said
You're
it might.
hedged either way.
Yeah, you're hedged. I said it might not. And so sometimes people don't want to hear that when it's, chart time. They want to say, well, just tell me for sure. And frankly, I don't believe anyone who says anything about 100%. In fact, I lose a lot of I think people lose a lot of credit in my mind when they say something like, this is for sure going to happen.
Yeah, don't
So
think in absolutes.
as far as, yeah, don't think in absolutes, and that will help you in trading because then you're not selling or buying, the whole bag at one time.
You don't get tied to the position.
I want to cut some of my ETH that I longed the other day because it's in profit, and I want to hold on to that. I don't want to go to sleep and worry if I'm going to wake up and there's $1,000 missing or whatever. Like, I don't mind taking a little profit. Am I going to close the whole position? No, because I still think the high probability that we're going to get some really nice upside. But I'm holding out, and I understand that I could be wrong, and so I'm lining my pockets along the way if I can as a trader. And I think that mentality is important, even though I would love to sit here and say, like, I know for sure we're going up. I still feel
Sounds
like
great.
I feel like I do, but I know better, right? I've thought things before that I thought were for sure. If I had to pick a number, and I love probabilities, I love throwing out predictions. If I had to pick a number, I'd say 85% chance that we're
Oh
just going to
wow,
be
that
trading
85 number again.
85, that we're going to be trading higher. And if it doesn't rain tomorrow and it's 15 and we got that's fair.
Well, if only there was a marketplace for this.
I want to put a higher number on that, but I'm going to stay humble and say 85. I don't, I'm going to be like 99.2%. But I feel good about it. I think we've waited a long time. I think there's more disbelief baked into this than hopium. And
Oh yeah,
I'm not,
this is not a hopium looking chart right now.
no.
And it's definitely not a euphoria. I see no euphoria on that chart right now.
Yeah, you zoom in, maybe you can see some oh, euphoria, not a
Early
chance.
excitement.
Early excitement there. So I'm pretty excited. I'm trying to stay focused so that I'm not chasing the daily trend, the daily leaderboards, anything like that. I'm focusing on some of the what I can find. So dusk, for example, really nice chart. Let's zoom out. Again, zooming in, some of these look overbought and kind of out of reach, but you can
Just
see
buying opportunities.
they're
It's
full of
not resistance.
opportunities. And the nice thing about these trending markets, as we identified earlier with that fib, is it's okay to miss the first impulse. In fact, sometimes, again, based on your strategy, what you come up with, missing the first pump or the first breakout gives you a chance to get into something that is moving, right? So, yeah, this was a sweet entry down here in April, but your capital was locked up in this for a long time, and it only really became interesting here.
Yeah.
And you catch that alert, you catch that breakout, you drop that fib, you kind of catch that entry, and now your money's working instead of opportunity cost bleeding you out. Again, one way to skin the cat, depending on how much time you have and your knowledge, but we're going to try to share as much of that kind of stuff here as we can.
That's a great way of looking at it, though. The lost opportunity of not being able to utilize your capital in these markets when there's so much stuff that's just popping on a daily basis.
Yeah, let me give you an example, actually. Full disclosure, I took a position in this one earlier today. I think
Oh, it's
I
the
basically
enterprise blockchain.
I said this as much in the chat today, so it's not a big secret. I said, yeah, I got some H bar this morning. This is one that looked really good in January. Had some nice W's coming in on bullish divergence, and I did scoop some up. I'm very pleased about that. It popped, and then I had to cut that. I was like, okay, 700% in January. I mean, I'm going to take that. I saved a little moon bag, obviously, but now it's been waiting a while. So how do I want to trade this? Well, I could park some today and risk it, just chilling for another month, missing out on all the excitement that's going on. I did end up parking a little today because there's something, I don't know, they have some webinar thing coming up next, whatever it is, 4 days. It's just a product update. It doesn't sound that spicy, but it's a thing. And it does look coiled up. The B bands are really tight. I think they might be actually on here, yeah. I mean, look at these B bands. When's the last time you saw them get this tight?
Well, there's not a lot of market history on that one.
I'll give you a hint. It was right here. So last time they were this tight, it was before a big breakout. It doesn't mean it will be again, but I saw that today and I saw a few other things and I just thought, yeah, okay, cool. So point is,
It's important to know that their target market isn't necessarily retail focused. It's more enterprise level as well. So when they do have a new partnership or new product announcement, there's probably going to be some scale to it.
Yeah, well, I mean, this was Google, right? This was actually Google publication saying they liked them. Everyone's forgotten that, it seems, price-wise anyways.
Next.
Yeah, But there's something to say for waiting. Maybe waiting for this thing to break out. Does it retest? Does it let you in? Pump chaser fib. Like, I could do that. Maybe, I don't have like a sizable position in it, just a little taster. So maybe I'm waiting for this breakout, set an alert. Actually, I will right now. Why not? 469. Let's go.
I would keep an eye on when the unlocks are for that one.
It's a good call, actually. We should pull that up in the lab and
yeah, because normally they announce things on their blog when there's new distributions, usually every month. We got distributions coming up here. So we had 2 days ago. There was a small one.
Okay.
We got one more here on the 31st. Looks like we're going to have about a new 95 million tokens. So it's
the total on that. What's their total? It's a pretty high circulating kind of max, right? I feel like it was in the
it's like 5 billion for the sats.
Yeah.
So yeah, in circulation as of July 31st, it's 4.95 billion. 20% of that held by employees and contractors, by the way.
Oh, that's good to know.
It's I'm gonna use the term held very weakly, judging off past selling experience.
Oh, you mean like they use it for income?
Exactly.
Okay.
They sell on the secondary market.
My first thought when you said that was like, okay, so they're committed to the cause.
No,
they're like, no, they're paying rent with it.
They're committed to the dollar.
Yeah, and historically, I've asked that until I used to go do some research on these things. I'd be like, hey, do you guys pay your employees in tokens? Because in some cases, especially in a bear, that causes quick selling as soon as they get paid. But
it can, it's nothing new in crypto. That's essentially what so many companies do, right? Like if you're at Amazon, you want Amazon stock.
Yeah, I don't think it's wrong in any way. I think it's part of you have those tokens as a company to use to build your company, and that's what you pay people with. So it's not like it's shiesty. It just maybe can create sell pressure. It's something you want to know if you're going into a swing trade. So anyways, keeping an eye on this one, let's pull up. We had a few requests.
I kind of saw that actually with Binance and stuff when their employees got distributions for coins as well. There usually be a kind of a rush there to sell those.
Yeah. Aeon and TRS is a big one of that too.
Yeah, but the impact of those types of sales are always going to be dependent on the liquidity in the market, or maybe secondary interest. Like a lot of those tokens, they don't even hit the market. That's why secondaries are so great.
Oh, the OTC markets.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that's part of why I love hearing your insight, because you're fairly heavily involved in OTC stuff, right?
Yes, sir.
So you get a unique perspective on what's going on off the charts and off the books. So here's another one, metal, that absolutely face ripped in March. Wow, that was actually right after. So this is like Corona dump. Yeah, it was very shortly after. So I remember this metal stood out in that sense because everything else was just recovering and unsure. I think this was an announcement of some kind of exchange. Like they put out like a picture of what like metal was basically going to be, an exchange.
They put out a picture and pumped 100%.
Yeah, there was because that's what it is, right? It changes people's perspectives. They think, exchange token too?
Yeah.
Sweet. And so that was this. And again, as we always say, like when you get a massive move like that, you often really need to consolidate for a while. There's just a lot of business that has to be done to shake out that situation and then grow for the next move. And we're moving. I mean, we're just breaking out. Actually, interesting level here.
Sideways and up.
Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty interesting level in and of itself. We just kind of confirmed this daily market structure, and we are retesting it right now. So hot call for whoever was in the trading pit saying, check out metal. I like this a lot. And I was actually looking at it the other day, kind of down here thinking, man, what's going to be my signal to get more curious about it? I think this week's price action is actually quite promising with some nice volume coming in as well. So I'm going to put metal on my short list. I always write things down because I ramble and talk so much on stream sometimes and forget to actually go and act on anything. So I like metal. Let's see. Mithril's one that, Yeah, nice little, pretty standard coming back
Got a
down.
price alarm going off in my ear here. It's Ethereum, top of the range.
Oh, which one's that? Let's go see it live.
ETH USD pumping here,
Okay, I'm gonna get my day trade quad up here. Where is it? Let's go.
It's super low
Oh,
volume right
baby.
now.
There we go.
Yeah, this is just a huge level for Ethereum spot. Like these are the highs back in February, right? At
Yeah,
287 level.
let's
We're
check
less
it
than
out.
$3 away
Oh,
from yearly highs here.
oh, what a big level.
Huge,
Gorgeous.
absolutely huge.
Gorgeous level here. Keep those live alerts coming though too. That's the
Oh, they're
that's the real
coming.
sauce. I love a good altcoin check-in, but if we're getting live price action and this thing's moving,
Hey, I used to do auctioneer style price calling on the Whale Club team speak. It would be great if someday when we're on stream we get price action like that again.
that would be sweet. I think that's that soundboard you shared with me that one time.
And there's YouTube videos, soundboards,
This
a
is a
lot of
little
good
before
stuff
my
up there.
time, and yeah, we're at a huge level here on ETH BTC. I mean, 250 was a pretty big level, and we're at a bigger one now, right? We
In
had two,
terms of significance right now, yeah.
yeah, we had 250 getting all kinds of tests, and just broke through. So I mean, it's a big breakout. Can we continue? Do we have to retrace, tag 250 again, and then go?
The daily candle is so far out of the B bands right now. It's so strong though. Like the candles tell the story.
Yeah. Let's actually. Do you have that chart of your 288 pull back 250 then continue kind of thing? That's a scenario
Um,
I think is worth sharing as far as
sure,
reeling
let's do
in
that.
the low time frame bulls.
I'll share my screen here.
Personally, again, I do have a position on along here, and I'd like to know what Nick thinks of this. Let's go check it out.
So flips on over. So again, this is very basic Wyckoff, and I'm sure the price action will back it up once it gets there. Rarely does market just bust through straight lines. Like if it does here, again, you're going to be looking at 316, 320. But if we do find, again, that little swing here, swing high, get everybody excited. If we do come down, you're going to be looking for this to hold here. This retest of the bearish resistance here. But we've seen this so many times. Like this is why Ethereum has looked so good from a market structure point of view. And you've seen like this is a classic staircase. Support resistance flip, boom, right here, 170. Comes back, confirmed. Right here, same thing, comes back twice, confirmed. And now, it hasn't happened yet. But a lesson in breakout trading is that even like I've seen Ethereum go up to 700 and right back down to, it went to 1100 and it still came back down to 300. Probability says eventually these will get retested. So don't FOMO up here. We're at a daily resistance. Like that's just dumb. That's super low IQ. So just wait for price action here. Like what are you going to miss? Like 280 to 320, and then it's going to come back here and retest anyways. This is where you want to buy, right? So if we do get a breakout above this level, you're going to want to be trying to rebuy this level. If we fail here, you're going to want to rebuy the other form of resistance down here. It gives you such a higher probability of a move and continuation going in your favor and lowers your risk dramatically, right? Like every time, if you're just following from a trend trade, you're just raising your stop, right? So if we see this come back here, what are people who are from long down here going to do? They're going to move their stops up here, right? And that's why the break of these levels is always so significant, because not only is it a break in market structure, but from a liquidity point of view, you're going to get a huge cascade of stops, right? So yeah, it's something to keep an eye on here. It's kind of what I'm looking for. I'm bullish. Like there's no reason to be bearish here on Ethereum from a macro point of view, right? It's basically trying to get into a position at this point if you're not
Yeah.
already in it.
Yeah, and that you brought up a good point. Just regarding probabilities, like this, it's just a low IQ place to be getting long. If your plan is to get really long, and you're trying to strap on leverage, especially, I
It's
think
really moving
I
here,
think it's a good
286.
way to put it. It sounds harsh, but it's just I mean, it's just not ideal. Okay, high probability, longer term. Now you made a really good point. Oh God, we're moving, dude.
Yeah, this is getting close here.
We're
We're less than
moving.
$4 off the highs here at Coinbase. Coinbase, by the way, has like really taken over on spot volume for
Yeah,
like
you
the big.
mentioned that. So I've got it as my primary chart now,
Yeah,
and
kind of have to.
and it was actually leading the Binance futures yesterday, which is interesting. Usually the leverage exchanges will tend to lead, get a little more emotion
Yeah,
baked into that, but they were actually trailing Coinbase. So that's an interesting little tidbit there.
yeah. I would
Now,
take a look at the exchange, like for what the futures derivative exchanges uses for their index, and see where the weightings are in exchanges. I wonder how high Coinbase is because I don't know how often they rebalance those stuff.
yeah, that's something we should look into. Rob is asking, where is my pullback entry for ETH BTC? So let's
Oh,
see.
that's an easy one.
You keep an eye on. You keep okay. You show him. I'll keep an eye on. He's asking to maybe see what the pump chaser says about it. Um, but man, it's moving right now live. So we might have to run a little long today, guys, because if we're gonna bust straight up here, I want to be here with you all.
Holding you through the experience. But yeah, getting back into ETH like that's why I say like it can be tough getting into these types of trades once you've missed the entry because you've had such a long period of consolidation. Like I said, they're gonna run a little bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Usually at least to the opposite range. So yeah, like if you're being patient and waiting, yeah, you're looking for the pullback to where it originally broke out from these highs back there at 2.8.
Oh my God, we're at 286.80. So here's the thing. If you could go back to that chart, you had those levels on the ETH
On the
ETH
yeah,
USD.
287.
So, yeah, 287. Oh, if
Oof.
this pops, dude, because this is resistance. We break through here, it could run a bit.
Yeah, like I said, 316, 320.
Okay, so you're saying okay. So just
Well, right up to
I
here,
had a
right? Like,
tiny.
look
I
at
had
the.
I'm gonna be honest. I had a tiny little TP at 288. I might just pause that for a sec. Okay, so look, we're at this big level that Nick's got marked on his chart. You can either enter there as it's coming up from below, or you could consider entering there as it's coming down from above on a retest, right? And so when you're at an SR level, when I'm at an SR level and I'm trying to get in on it, buying it when it's resistance is high risk, generally speaking. But price moves up, goes beyond, leaves you behind. Don't FOMO, because more often than not, again, probabilities, you're going to get a chance when price comes back down,
Yeah.
and that's where you get in. And in fact, just to send that point home, I'm going to pull up the BNB chart because we played that exact thing perfectly this morning when we were in the lab.
Literally sniping entries like it's nothing.
It was awesome, actually. I was pretty impressed with us, I gotta say. Nothing public or live, but we were chatting in the lounge, in the lab. Let me pull that up. It was a really good example of exactly what we're talking about, so I'm just going to show you all right here. Okay, so zooming in, 15-minute chart.
An SXP chart.
Okay, so here we are this morning. Let's actually get these grids off. Now that I've taken them off, I don't like them at all.
Get it out of here.
Get the grids out. Give me a nice clean sheet to work with. Okay. So here we were in the lab this morning. Nick leans over. He says, "Hey, BNB's moving." And I looked, and I agreed. We had this level here, and it started moving up. And I was like, "Holy crap, man, this thing's going to pop. What do we do? Quick!" And we looked at the lower time frame, exactly what we've just been talking about. And again, I wanted to trade this on leverage. I don't want to take a big spot position that's going to tie up my margin for a month. But I do think high time frame Binance coin, we've been talking about it quite a bit, looks great. So you can already see probably where we stacked our bids. We've got this SR level, and I was risking missing it. I mean, Nick, I think you said you already had a small position in it.
Yeah.
And I was sitting there going like, well, I would like one too, sir. Where's my position? And price had just popped up here, right? So,
That's a classic. It's a classic example of just being patient and waiting on the Wyckoff throwback.
Yeah, and that's 15-minute charts. So you're sitting here. You told me it's breaking out now for 15, 30, 45 minutes. I got to think,
And,
well, maybe I missed it. But I set a
yeah.
bid at, what was it, 90.01, so right about here. And I actually went to get lunch and I came back and I came in and I was filled. I was like, oh, look at that. So, ETH right now, let's compare this to ETH. ETH is moving up. It's like right here. Let's let it break through. And it may not come back, but it probably will. Probability, right? And
Yep.
that's where you want to grab these SR levels, not as you plow through, because they're risky. And as I say this, BNB is coming down to ruin my life. No, I think it's probably fine.
It's moved like 10% on this move. So yeah.
Yeah, wouldn't be surprised. And now look, here's a sick thing. Let's see. Are we gonna get this right now? Bing,
You can
bada,
just move
bing.
that up there. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So
Boom.
next up, who, if you're hunting these positions, this is just a good way to do it. And that's why I think my response to this morning was like, this is why I love trending markets.
Yeah.
Because when you have a
So
fairly
easy to
high
trade.
confidence level of the overall direction of the market, you can pick off these retest levels. And there's a lot of people doing that because there is just confidence that we're in a bull. And these kinds of levels come along. Oh, right here, I would have missed it. Sorry, didn't get picked up. On to the next one, no big deal. Again, long-term thinking. No one trade is going to make or break. Or at least make sure no one trade will make or break you. Don't go crazy with leverage and risk. So we just got this retap. We'll check back in maybe in a few minutes and see if that's going to be the next bounce spot. We'll see. ETH. Where's my ETH? Oh yeah,
Still grinding there.
so USD. This is the US BTC US 30, which kind of came up in my mind when you were talking about the S&P and the idea of decoupling and whatever else going on. If you draw it from candle bodies, which would be like a line chart, or the wicks, either way we've broken through, and you got the bullish market structure. So for anyone who doesn't know, this is Bitcoin charted against the top 30 Dow Jones stocks, or the US 30. I believe it's Dow Jones. I'm not a stock guy, so, but to me it represents a proxy of the legacy stuff. So that's what's going on this chart, and it looks bullish.
That could use that. I could pull away big time this weekend.
And so, we've got this obviously in March, both of them tanked. Clearly, Bitcoin tanked a little harder because it went down versus those. But a nice big breakout on this level here.
It's bullish engulfing candle.
Right, yep. And then coming right back down. And now just this week, Bitcoin's kind of moving away from them again. So this whole chart to me is the decoupling. And are we or are we not? MoonRekt, what do we got going on here? So this is one I'll be keeping an eye on now that we're sort of done this long, 8 to 10 week consolidation. I'd like to see us break out here. And this is Bitcoin leaving sort of the correlation with the stock market. So that's kind of cool.
The legacy market collapsing next week and Bitcoin mooning. That's what that chart would look
FET.
good with.
We got a couple of requests for FET today.
FET.
Fetch AI.
Oh yeah, that's
big old
one.
mean nasty wick said, if you have a stop loss, I'm gonna go get it. Who knows what that was all about? To me, it was a little bit concerning. I think you catch those fills, it feels really good. But who did that? Who dumped the price there?
And the fact that the price is following that as well, it's like, whoa, there goes the momentum.
Who did it and why did they do it? Sometimes, and I can't speak to this. I don't know what's going on with Fetch. But sometimes these are actually indicative of internal weakness or possible sort of, I don't know, somebody putting a top in the market. We'll see. But let's take a look at it because I don't know that that's what this is. But we've seen it before. Actually, there was a time last year where I think it was Birch saw like on Kraken there was some god tier like wick down to like $9 Canadian on the Kraken XBT pair, and it was like a day before some negative tether news came out, and so we were like, oh,
somebody knew
that was that. So sometimes these moves, because this wasn't the whole alt market, not every alt did this, so this might be unique to Fetch. I don't know, we'll see. But let's give it a bit better of an analysis. That's just one little candle. This thing is a Binance IEO. Got super sold off. Really has not found a price floor up until recently. And let's see if it did find a price floor.
A little bit.
Yeah, you know what? Yes and no. I don't like this one as much as others, and I'll tell you why.
It wasn't a long time.
Well, actually, okay. So you arguably got your confirmed structure here, but like it put in a low and then a lower low.
Yeah.
You could say, okay, that was a sweep of the lows. Yeah. I mean, it goes both ways. I really like to see when you get something like this and then comes and puts in a higher low as the bottom. This one had a bit of a lower, so it's on the slightly weaker side.
Yeah.
But we got a higher low here and then a breakout on the weekly. So that's a pretty strong sort of, weekly W continuation kind of stuff. 1, 2, 3. Oops, sloppy. But, so I would say that there's a decent chance that this is, gonna stand up as a bottom formation for now. But as you can see, I mean, some of the coins we've been looking at, they've got a year sitting on the bottom like that, kind of bouncing along. This one, not that much. So, maybe it isn't as ready as the others to just go parabolic or straight up. Maybe it does need to have some of this, put in a stronger base. And one really good example of that, if somebody is unsure what I'm talking about, is Stratus. This thing did that for a year, right? I mean, these are weekly candles. So like, like this is just the washing machine, right? No, I'm long. No, I stopped out long, stopped out long, stopped out. Get all the weekends, get every bit of the money that's possible into the strongest hands in the market, build that base. Now it's breaking out. I have way more confidence when I see something like this as a bottom than I do, something like what we just saw with Fetch. That's just my 2 cents.
Like this chart here, I would rather be buying that big red candle there coming into the bullish retest of that level versus buying that big Chad candle out of it. Because if it supports there, well, checkbox confirmation on the momentum play. And you're gonna have, like, look at that. I'm gonna be adding that to my own watch list.
Yeah, I mean my only concern with this is that we had a nice bullish retest. It wicked right back up and continued, and then just kind of failed. And it was failing on bearish divergence, which is now confirmed.
Declining volume.
Declining volume. Like this one, we had some longs kicking around way earlier in the spring. And so the trade is kind of complete on that shorter time frame, but on the higher time frame, I have been watching because I like the project. And if this breaks here, like we're right at support. That's bearish market structure. Arguably gonna have to come down and do a proper like RLZ move, which is a lot less sexy than a pump chaser fib. Pump chaser fib, we're sitting right on it. We got the support here. Like there is a trade here as far as taking your shots on support. And I think that's the first trade, and being ready to maybe double barrel so that you can, okay, got stopped out. That one didn't work. Where's my next one? Well, okay, let's get that RLZ. This is the initial breakout point. Already got that retest.
Well, yeah, like that. If I saw a price go back down there, I'd be pretty concerned that it was going to get then trapped. If it were to bounce off that level there, it's going to get tapped again at the weekly resistance, and now it's range bound again.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, so
that'd be my biggest concern on that one.
Yeah, so maybe, I mean, we didn't come here to talk about Stratus, but here we are, and I think maybe this is trade number 1. Yeah. And frankly, after that, I'd be like, okay, let's get into that RLZ, put in a nice new W, break, get that nice retest. Like, there's a whole new waiting period coming up. But for now, let's go back to the weekly, the more powerful time frame. I don't think there's too much wrong with this. Breakout, come back.
Yeah, that's fine.
Doji, retest. And, this is a key level to hold, no doubt about it, 57 area.
Yeah.
So back to applying this to Fetch, which was the request. And it does look quite bullish right now. Well, the EMAs are still not crossed bull yet. So there's
early.
Yeah, it's early. There's still some room there. I am concerned about this wick. I think this thing needs to get eaten up, swept, probably, keyword. I think Pump Chaser Fib gives us a picture. I would actually probably have this drawn off here because it's the last, sort of bit of structure we put in. And so in that case, we are actually right at it. So if I was looking to ride a wave and I thought this was the wave I wanted to ride, this is where I start thinking about my entries. Below is where I have to consider where I'm going to risk to, because really risking down to here is your safest bet, but that's a huge window, so it's not a great setup. Things like this where you're risking just to below the pump chaser region, because if it's a really strong uptrend as we've seen, it's going to be touch and go, not slide through. Like, that's okay. The trend is not as strong as maybe we hoped.
Ethereum popping up a little bit here.
Ooh, let's go back.
Just made a new high there on the 15.
So we have hit the top of the hour, but we've got Ethereum making new highs. And I think it would be irresponsible of us to go sit, because we're probably just going to go hop back in the lab and chat anyways. Let's give it a minute here so we can stare at this. ETH up. Okay, let's go. Paul J's made it official. Let's go to your screen share. And
share my beautiful face.
Yeah, I mean, your face is beautiful, but it doesn't have an ETH chart on it.
Yeah, like one thing we didn't talk about. Screen share. Did I share the right one? Yeah. Okay. So one thing we didn't talk about, this Bitcoin. Look at this fucking chart. This is Bitcoin on Ethereum. So basically, synthetic. But this kind of goes into what I was talking about at the top of the hour, and like that nobody's really built anything for developers. There's nothing there. Like nothing's been built on top of it. So people want to use their Bitcoin for other things, probably the access to DeFi space, all those financial products. And look what's happened, right? The exodus of Bitcoin to Ethereum. It's just an amazing chart to see. This is an exponential chart. The biggest one being wrap BTC, right? Where's this? Like this is in the past 2 months. This is an early trend identifier right here. This is going over $1 billion.
That's wild.
Oh yeah, this is gonna moon. By the end of 2020, this will easily be over $1 billion. People want to utilize their assets. We were just talking about that, right?
And if Ethereum's integrated with all these dApps that are actually interacting.
Yeah, like you got Wrap Bitcoin, you got Ren, you got P token from Tether. Like there's so many True BTC. Like there's so many options here, right? This website is called btconethereum.com. But yeah,
that's cool. I've never really looked into that at all.
By the end of the year.
Yeah, I've never looked into that. So thanks. I think maybe something one day. I think right now we should look at the live Ethereum chart because it is friggin' moving. But I think let's look into maybe sharing a little more info on what the heck wrapped BTC is, because I don't like, even on a technical level, I'm curious. I guess is it locked up?
I can't speak to the technical side of it. Essentially, though, it's just creating a swap and onto Ethereum with your Bitcoin used as collateral. So you deposit it. You are then credited with the wrap BTC, and it creates that token. And then when you want to redeem, it's very similar to like the Devil tokens, created one, or Tether token, really anything. You send your collateral there, it creates the token, issues it, and you can go off and do whatever you want with it. And then, to reverse the process, get your coin back, just reverse engineer that.
Okay. So that sort of sounds like some of these interoperability protocols.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, totally. Exactly. And that's kind of like the whole age that we're in right now, is the age of interoperability and cross-chain communication. Yeah. And like cross-chain liquidity, which is kind of building up.
It's kind of the inevitable
all
next
these trends. Oh, of course it's inevitable. Like without it, you can't have a robust, decentralized. DEXs would be very hard pressed to find success. And that's with when I was working with Horizon Project, like we had HZ DEX back in 2014. 6 years ago, we had decentralized exchanges. Very, very similar UI to what you see in Y Finance as well, or Curve. Just very simple, right?
Yeah.
And same thing, but unfortunately then, no liquidity. Another price alarm here on Ethereum, just edging up there, 288 right now on spot Coinbase, 1,800 coins up to 290.
I can feel it.
Yeah, it's a slow grind right now, right? Look at the volume, still under 10,000 on the 30 minutes.
I mean, as much as like a $20 candle is fun, Is this a healthier way to advance up the chart in your mind?
Coming into resistance, I like the slow march into it, but at this point, I'm looking for that big fuck you candle, and like we should get that if we can just trigger above that stop level, right?
Yeah.
Like
Well,
that's
I
what's
mean,
gonna that's what's gonna give you that move, and then that could perpetuate through cascading liquidations depending on how people are positioned on derivatives.
yeah, I think you're right. I think if we get above, what do we get? The wick high here, 288.41 on
Yeah,
Binance.
we need 290.
So there's got to be a lot of liquidity parked there. I mean,
Oh yeah.
that's a huge
Look at it.
level. We've been waiting on
Yeah,
since February.
it's a huge void, right? Like if we can get above this 290, it's a huge void. Up to like I said, 310, 315 probably on derivatives.
That's sick. There's a big ABCD harmonic that ends, I think, around 316. Let's see if I can pull that up here. I since erased it because it's not a trade that I'm in, but I remember that level. I'm going to draw it up here while we stare at your chart.
Yeah, like people are definitely going to be trying to short this level.
Yeah, and that's so it kind of makes sense that we're working our way through it. We're not just going to slice through like butter. It's going to take a little bit of work.
Well, ideally, we would slice this thing through butter. Otherwise, people are going to sellers eventually will step in. If it just hovers there too long.
Yeah. Okay, guys, we're not moving it. Cancel the parade. We're going back down to 250 to try again. Load up.
We need some more liquidity. Let's go load up at 255.
So yeah, so let me pull back to my screen here real quick, and we've got this kind of a harmonic working. You'll have to excuse this little stuff because that's from a zoomed in chart I'll show you after. But real quick, Ethereum tether, off the bottom, first major kind of pivot high, pivot low, ABCD harmonic, and that puts us up right around 317. And keeping in mind, like in this context of going back to last summer's highs when Bitcoin was around 14K, ETH looks like it topped around 367. And so we're just up into the short RLZ of that, right? We're retracing in. So this is a huge level. I live with the fibs. I die with the fibs. And right now on the high time frame, this is where I'll be cautious, looking for exhaustion, looking for signs of that. Now, on a higher time frame, obviously we've got lots of things to look forward to.
Yeah, there's a lot of expansion there.
Yeah, it's really a one level at a time kind of game, especially, I mean, for the next year or however long, we're going to be looking left a lot and saying, oh, look at all those resistances. Someday, let us pray, someday we rise above previous resistance into price discovery, but we're nowhere close to that.
Yeah,
so for now,
if we can move above here with conviction, the next target's going to be that 360 level, right? If we get double top there, where are you going to be looking to re-enter? Well, back down here, 280, 290. And if we see support here, then hold on to your boots because it's going to go. So I had the SPX chart open here because the market's just closed for the weekend. I would not call that strength. That looks pretty weak. Like this guy needs to get to the gym because if this level right here goes 3,200, yikes. So let's see what happens on the weekend. I'm officially closing the legacy charts. It's not going to be saved. Gold finished that's strength. This is called closing into strength. That's what a fucking Chad looks like right there.
That's sick.
Gold.
I should start trading some gold. I keep hearing about this bull that's going on, and it sounds boring to me because people talk about it going up like $2, 1,800 up to 1,803, but obviously there's leverage involved.
I quickly took it back to BNB here because we've been talking about throwback levels. Look at this forming here. Wow. If this holds a support, beautiful, right?
So we just did that again.
Yeah, like we've tested it here, nice length to that wick, and it actually opening above the breakout right here.
What time frame are you on there?
Oh, this is just the hourly,
Okay, so I'm just trying to catch up on my screen here so I know what we're looking at. Oh yeah. Okay.
See, exactly. This is why I hate fucking breakout trading. This happens more often than not. People who are actually in the move down here, what do you think they sold? They sold at the sweep of the highs. So now they're going to be assessing, well, is this really a bull here, right? Is this a swing high failure? Mm-hmm. Well, if this holds here, nope. cancel shorts, up she goes to 21.7. Because if we zoom this thing out, that's the inevitable target, isn't it? Look at that. Wow.
Yeah. And
That's where
what do you have
that's
to do to
going.
close your short position?
Pardon me?
What do you have to do to
You,
close a
you gotta
short
buy.
position? You got to buy.
You gotta buy. You gotta press the button.
Push the green one. So closing shorts, that's an interesting take and something that I'm learning a lot about sitting with you in the lab. You know, getting into those greasier time frames, playing with a bit of leverage. Honestly, I traded this stuff for 2 years before I was confident and comfortable with leverage. And frankly, I think in 2 or 3 years, I'll look back at today and say, man, I didn't know what I was doing. So I cannot stress enough how much you should stay far away from leverage. If you're watching this and thinking, oh, that sounds sexy, it's
Look
cool.
at this thing.
It can be really
Oh my
cool,
god.
but it's its own thing. Um, it's a whole other thing. So let me give an example. Imagine you're bullish on BNB because that's what we're talking about, and you're like, man, someday it's going to be worth $40. That's 2x. You could go theoretically buy some, and no matter what, if it goes to $40, you made 2x your money. Imagine it goes to $40, and you got Chadwicked out of 10 positions, and you blew up your account, and you have none, right? That's the reality that a lot of, frankly, like 90%, like a huge number of people that play with leverage, unfortunately, they're going to end up with less crypto and less money. And that's a really depressing thought if crypto goes crazy, right? So
Imagine losing money in a bull market.
I say this only because I realize I'm sitting here harping on about how excited I am about trading on leverage. It's just because it's something I've finally decided I'm comfortable enough to try, and it's going well so far. But just keep in mind, I lost, I'd say in a year of messing around on BitMEX, almost half a Bitcoin. And I hate to say that publicly. It's a fact of life, and I just I don't want any to be lost on anyone that this shit's just fun and easy. It's a grind, and it's often But hey, get a paper trade account going. Start trying it. It's never wrong to try something new. Start slow. Prove to yourself you can turn $100 into 1,000 before you go messing around with whatever. So there's a lot of ways to enter these things in a safe, chill, practical way. Now let's pull up Troy. Paul J is hunting for a double on Troy. He's a little sad he's not getting one, or whatever that face is. Maybe it's a sad face.
Probably.
Switch it back over. Well, I've got a big old inked up chart here on Troy. We just plowed through resistance. I think you're gonna. I don't know, man. It looks pretty good. I'm not gonna lie, Paul. It looks not bad.
It's a tough one to get into.
I first bought Troy here at 45, doing the thing we just talked about not doing. I tried the breakout because of this little sort of cup and handle kind of came along, and it didn't pan out. So I ended up cutting my bag, a couple percent down. Never really got back in. Ouch. Look at this thing though, moving, and it just cut through that 69 resistance really nicely. It is right at the sort of fib extension at 2, number 2 here. Kind of a resistance. There's a little bit of resistance here. Not surprised it stopped. Got old wick highs.
Nice 75
fib extension. So maybe my 16 was off. I drew this 69 off these candle body highs, as I tend to put these bars on the candle bodies instead of the wicks. But I think sweet spot is in play. We got chaos up here at the 88.6. There's a lot of upside targets here on Troy. And, again, comparing quickly to FET, this thing came in and put in a much more patient, stronger base. So when you see that final breakout, it should have some more legs. And Chaos PRZ is just a bit of a spooky thing. So drawn off of the right shoulder, or right sort of higher low, drawn back to the middle sort of neckline where the breakout would happen. And then you see where that extension goes. Pretty wild. I'm going to be keeping an eye on this one more from an analysis point of view.
People should be keeping an eye on XTZ.
Yeah, let's pull up XTZ. Nick is a big fan of XTZ, and it just got a shout out from China. Basically said, we like you.
We build on top of you.
Yeah, we're going to build on you. So what do you see when you look at the XTZ chart? Let's break it down because it's headed towards price discovery maybe.
Yeah, like this is the level. It's a very simple chart. Those are the best charts most often. Daily resistance, weekly resistance, monthly resistance, right here. right? That 3.25 level. I keep screaming it. If we see a breakout, let's do a chart path. This is where it's going to go. You would see a breakout up here or something. There's a huge, look at this wiki area, right? So anywhere from like right
When
here,
was that?
3.6 all the way up to 4.
That's the February highs?
Yep, that's right. Back there in February. So you can say compared to Ethereum, Ethereum's already up here, testing that stuff. But yeah, if we see a breakout here, if you miss this, it's all right, because if you see this, this type of confirmation, this flipping to support, get Omega long, because the risk reward on here is price. You get rewarded with price discovery, and last time we saw price discovery here, price moved 106% rapidly on spot. So with the liquid derivatives market now compared to back here, a lot of opportunity there to actually get in with some size, especially right here that you'd be looking for.
You get nice tight invalidation, yeah.
Yeah, and exactly. Like it's a great setup. And then lower time frame stuff. Right now it's trying to move up, right? So if we can move above these levels, it's interesting. We've held. It's actually I've just been watching this whole support range here. So possible SR flip again, right here on the intraday stuff. So as long as these lows hold here, I'm okay holding it. Inevitably, I think it's going to go back up here or something. So that's what I'm looking at. But again, with coins with price discovery, we just saw it with Link. The stuff moves so fast, right? So you're going to want to be selling something into that liquidity.
Yeah, I mean, once the cat's out of the bag, and it's obvious where it's going, or the doubt is gone out of the move, then it tends to move pretty quick.
Yeah,
but you can't say it doesn't give you an opportunity, right? It's these bullish retests, these checks of certain levels. I mean, sick stuff. But you've got to be watching for it. You've got to be thinking ahead. You've got to be setting alerts and bids.
You got to put the work in.
Yeah, I cannot stress enough how important it is to not be a leaderboard chaser. I get endless every single day. Somebody saying, "Hey, how about this coin? How about that coin?" And I go check, it's on the leaderboard. It's like, well, they're hearing about it because it's up.
Exactly.
They're hearing about it because someone's ready to take profit on it. I mean, let's get ahead of that shit, right? Let's go. Yeah. Let's be the trade that hits the leaderboard, not chasing a 2x on something that's up 42% in the day. It really is going to age well if you can start to get ahead of these things, like we did on our little BNB snipe this morning. Who knows how that particular trade will age, but if we're watching those little bearish or bullish retests after little mini breakouts, like, I'm proud of us on that one. That was satisfying to see that happen today.
Yep. Yeah, it's just confirmation of the strategies in a live time set. But here, this is Link, completely different market structure. First support level is $7 around there. So, that could entirely hold up here and, just range for a bit and go again. Otherwise, you're going to be looking at 5.6. But from the trading strategy that we've just been talking about, all breakouts get retested just because it went really far. Don't think for a second that it can't come back, right? Because this is where liquidity is right now. If I were to pull up an order book, I'd probably see a lot of resting bids at these levels.
And that's the kind of bids that stop price where it is, not just the little shit ones you see day to day. We're talking, whale tracks.
Yeah. So I would be looking to rebuy down here. If price if it broke this market structure, again, like I said, 5.5, but inevitably, I'd buy there. That'd be great. 25%, 30% from that level.
The more I play in the markets, the more I stop counting out moves like that. I'll give you an example. We're on this week. Let's pull it up here. I'm gonna get Ambrosis up here because this is one I've been trading quite a bit this week, and we did look at it earlier, but that's not the ticker at all. No, sir. Here we are. So this guy broke up really sweet setup, blah, blah, blah. We've gone over this the other day, but it was this level here that caught my eye when we were trading way above.
Yep.
And I distinctly recall, and this is what I just thought of when you were talking. I distinctly recall somebody in the Telegram, I think somebody had missed it, right? They were saying like, "Oh man, like, is it too late to get in on AMB? Where can I get in?" And I just came over here to this same chart, and I drew up, not the pump chase fib. I just drew this line. I was like, okay, let's see where some bids will be resting when we come back down that might stop pricing its tracks. And I said in the channel, I said, look, 227 might get a quickie wiki. Obviously now it looks like we're going to get a little more than that. But I distinctly recall like 3 guys jumped on me like, nah, man, we're not going to see 227 anytime soon. Like that's, and then I agree. And I want to be enthusiastic like that. I had a long position on this thing and I'm loving it. I'm like, oh, we're up at 300. But I don't rule out these moves anymore. I used to just think like that's crazy because that day, right, you look in the order book and there's bids for millions and millions and millions of AM and you're thinking, well, there's no way we're going back down there. But a lot can happen in 2 days. We see volatility in Bitcoin. We see, in general, which chart are you going to buy if you're shopping? Probably not this one, right? So buyers are maybe going elsewhere to something that's just breaking out from a fresh base. And they're pulling bids. I mean, we're in a very volatile market. So I just, laying bids down here when you're feeling FOMO pays off so much more than people think. And I thought actually I missed it last night. I didn't even have my own bid at 227 after saying that level might get a tag. And it got a sweet little tag and go. And I thought, crap, did I just miss like a pip chasing type bid? But in fact, today we're just bleeding through it again. So let's see. I think you could play the same game here. Slight front run as well. This to me is a stronger level. Obviously this is based on like an old wick that, God knows what that was. It looks like a single buy. Whereas this is sort of like a full market structure situation. And we're actually parked in, we look like we're in an RLZ right now. I'm going to draw it up. Yeah, so we are down in this RLZ of this higher sort of move. Let's get some of this cleaned up out of here. So, once we get new bullish market structure, I'm comfortable drawing a fib from that pivot. It's sort of like our new playground. And we're coming up on the 786 confluent with this level here. So I'll be looking for some confirmation that this is going to be a bottom, which would be like a bottom of this pullback, which would be some kind of market structure where you get a low, a high, a low, a higher low, and then break.
That would look good.
Yeah, so if we can do that right in here on the 786, sweet. I'm all for a continuation long setup right now. I do not have my AM left. I was, selling it on the pump because that's how you lock it in. Now, there might be someone there saying, well, I think this thing has some pretty sweet upside. Well, over the next, let's actually just shut that off for a bit. And I would agree with you. You don't have to trade this the way I'm trading it. Like I said, I like to stay light on my feet these days. Get in, get out, have a little bit of gains on the week or the day. Realized gains, right? There's a lot to be said for playing it differently. I know Messiah in the Telegram talks a lot about, parking capital in assets that he knows are going to do well at some point. And he says, and then I just forget about it. I don't sweat it. I've got my orders set. And he's killing it. So there's so many ways to skin the cat. For me personally, I'm a little more over tradey right now, but it works for me, and you have to have a lot of time to do that. Time on your hands. So luckily I have a great job that basically is to look at charts all day. So having said on that, yeah, potential MACD divergence on Ambrosis. I would assume you're saying bullish, Paul, because look at that. Sweet. So Paul just pointed something out really important, and we do have to wrap pretty soon. It's coming up on 5:30. Unfortunately, we didn't catch a Chad move on ETH, but Murphy's Law suggests it might happen right after we go offline, so let's let it happen.
Probably.
Now look, low on the MACD, higher low as prices coming in. And that's actually what I want to see as we enter this RLZ. I don't want it to cut through and go straight in. I want it to be losing momentum. I want the downward momentum to be slowing. And that's actually exactly what we're seeing here. So I wouldn't be surprised if it does come in consolidated here. I've seen it 100 times. It's this RLZ, it's this 786 area. And if we do that and this flips back green, now because we had this little green move in the middle of the MACD, this bullish divergence does not confirm until we break above that. So it's not like some of them, they confirm right when you cross the 0 line. In this case, we really need to break above.
Get that confirmation.
Yep, and because that's the same as market structure. You want the W, right? So you have the high, the low, the high, the higher low, and you need a higher high. We want to break above that. So we'll see if that can happen here over the weekend. I'm going to have alerts on this because, you know, like many people, I think this one is a steal at these levels. I'm frankly kind of confused why the market cap is so low. And looking back, you know, you got your high, your higher high, like buy the dip, like we're trending. I really like it at this level, but I want a little bit more confirmation before I get back in, and that's going to be this kind of structure here. And I'm happy to pay that premium to know or have a higher probability that I'm going the way I want to go, which is up. So, anything final thoughts you wanted to drop on us today, Nick, as we head into the weekend? Put you on the spot.
No, I just gotta kind of keep an eye on those major setups right now. You know, if we do see a break, and like another interesting development happening is the divergence here, kind of on Link and XGZ on market structure.
Okay, well, let's look at that. So cat's out of the bag now. We've mentioned it. Let's take a peek at it, and then we will wrap for the weekend. And
I just think Link looks a little weaker than X2Z. That's kind of the summary there.
Okay, good to know. So if you haven't already, feel free to like this video, subscribe to the channel. We're going to be on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I typically come on Monday on my own, and Nick will join us on Wednesdays and Fridays next week. We're going to check out his newsletter on Wednesday, do a nice little overview. All kinds of good stuff coming up. So I hope you guys enjoyed the show today, and show your support in any way you can with the likes and subs. We're really happy to be on here and, you know, sharing this time with you guys each week. So without further ado, I will say goodbye. Have a wonderful weekend. Enjoy the market. Let's see if ETH can crack 300 over the weekend. Prayer hands, okay? And always play from a position of strength.